Anna, great to talk to you. I've watched the first couple episodes of the show and I've really enjoyed it so far, and I've really enjoyed your performance in the show. I would love to broadly know, how familiar were you with the game before you joined this project?
I remember when the game came out. I knew of it then, and I remember people talking about it because it was it had a lot of buzz because of the depth of the characters in it. And I remember also having a look at it because I had done a game a long time ago, like with motion capture and just how far it had come. We've come further still, but back then it was quite impressive. Excuse me. I didn't play it because I'm a terrible, terrible gamer. But then when I I read the scripts for this, and then afterwards went back and watched all of the cutscenes, like particularly old Tessa's stuff, just so I knew what the world was that the fans loved.
Yeah, I think the thing that's most interesting about your character, Tess, is that she's a character that has a lot of importance within the story of The Last of Us, and she sets a lot of the story into motion, but she's not around for very long. And you obviously knew that up front before you joined the project, I'm sure. Can you talk about like what you brought to the character, knowing that you didn't have much time in this series, but you were going to play at a very pivotal role all the same?
I think one of the things I think that I'm always a little bit that I try to do, and I think is that you cannot, you have to be true to the character. You can't, like, you have to be true to who the person is that you're playing, and you can't imbue or put more weight onto stuff just because you know that something's about to happen and you want the audience to feel it. But you can do what you can, and one of the things that that was really important is that you feel Joel's loss. That like when Tess goes, you have to, you kind of need to feel her loss, and you need to feel that he's definitely going to continue on with Ellie, that he's going to take her to, Frank's, and he'll do that. And so that was sort of the conversations that Pedro and I had before we started, with broad strokes and subtle, but just we both were on the same page, and that we wanted the audience, we wanted it to be clear that Joel and Tess were partners in life, that they were lovers, that they were friends, that they worked together, that they were loyal to each other, that they trusted each other completely, implicitly, and had each other's back, no matter what. And I feel like we achieved that. And I think we did that within, by still keeping the characters true. Again, like, they're not lovey-dovey, they're not super affectionate, they're not, but there were enough little gestures and enough to go, these people have been together a long time.
Yeah, there's more of their relationship is explored in the show than I think I was expecting as somebody who has played the games. And that was some of those little gestures you mentioned. I really picked up on those, and I love that those were kind of thrown in to further flesh out their relationship. I spoke to Neil earlier, and he talked to me about how he directed the episode when we first come across the clickers, and you're involved with that sequence. And he talked about how the choreography for that was quite difficult and it took a lot. Can you maybe talk to me about what it was like to shoot that sequence in particular when the clickers first appear?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the choreography goes, we're so lucky because they, like our stunt coordinator plans all of that stuff out, so that then when we come to it, it's like it's already, the dance has been choreographed, and then we learn our part. What was full on about that sequence, though, because the choreography wasn't like a full on fight sequence. It was pretty simple, really. But what was not simple, and what was kind of amazing, was the clickers, because nearly all of that was all real. And so all their prosthetic makeup and head was just like, I mean, it was unbelievable to look at in the flesh, even not lit. And then also the actors playing the clickers, I mean, that body language was all theirs. Like, these guys had practiced, like, they did that. I mean, it was just quite amazing and frightening to watch. And the sounds, like the clicks, were all done in then there too. So the first experience of the clicker was immersive for us, because all of a sudden these guys come in and they're doing it, and you're like, it didn't take a lot to be like,
Yeah, and that's not to give too much away, but your send off in the series is a little bit different than in game as well, and I can imagine that was only amplified through some of the things you were telling me about right there.
Yeah. Well, that was CGI.
I thought that looked
at the end. It was. Yeah. So I didn't know really what that was going to be. They kept explaining, and I'm like, okay.
Last question for you. I know a lot of the actors and actresses from the game have returned here in the show, maybe not the same roles. Annie Wershing, who played Tess in the game, was not involved with this, but I am curious, did you happen to talk to her at all when you got the role? Have you ever communicated with her, or did your impressions of Tess as a character really come from Neil and Craig and their kind of guidance?
I haven't met her or spoken to her. And I think it was kind of, to be honest, the way I kind of tackled it was like a play. Like you get a play and people have done it before, and you'll bring to it what you bring to it, and like productions vary, but ultimately the story is the same, and the essence of, or the characters are the same. And that's just kind of what I did. And interestingly, I watched all of the cutscenes of Tess because I kind of just wanted to know, I wanted to be informed. And then, obviously I'm a different person. I'm a different type, like the hair and the makeup and all the rest was kind of different. And I think there was a freedom in that too, going, oh, great, you're not trying to replicate any of this. This can be its own thing. And so you do that, and ultimately then you just get a different interpretation of the same character in the same story.
Speaking as a fan myself, I loved your take on Tess. I think you did a fantastic job. I think fans are going to love it as well. Congrats on the show. I think this is going to be a big deal. So looking forward to the rest of it.